Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to a new episode of your program, The Life of the Muslim Scholars. And I would like to welcome my guests, Mamadou and Brother Muhammad. Welcome and thank you for being with me. In this episode, we will be talking about a scholar who lived not in the Middle East. He lived in Europe. He lived in Al-Andalus, Spain. And his life is a very also interesting life. He's a scholar. Maybe he's not very popular, but definitely in his time, he's very popular, well known among the scholars of Al-Andalus. His name is Baqi ibn Makhlad ibn Yazid al-Andalusi from Cordoba, al-Qurtubi, rahimahullah ta'ala. He lived in the 9th century, 817, and he died in 889. You know, around what, 75 years of age, he died, rahimahullah ta'ala. He was born in Cordoba, and he was not very rich. He didn't come from a rich family, poor. And he lived his life, generally speaking, until the end of his life, poor. He used sometimes to, he said, sometimes I will, the whole entire day, I will survive on eating cabbage. You know, the cabbage leaf. And I will find it in the floor and pick it up from the ground and eat it. Me and my family. So he didn't have a very, you know, like a luxury type of upbringing or a lot of money. He was very poor. But this didn't stop him from learning and seeking knowledge. In Al-Andalus, he started with learning from the local scholars. Al-Andalus at that time was mainly the knowledge that available there is the knowledge that was carried from North Africa, which is something that represent Al-Imam Malik's opinions and school. You know, the Hujjaj who goes to Mecca from North Africa, you know, they go to Medina, they meet Imam Malik's rahimahullah's students, so they carry back to Africa. That's why Maliki madhab is very famous in North Africa. They don't go to Iraq, for example, to get to know a lot about the Hanafi madhab, Abu Hanifa students. They didn't get a chance to go to Sham, where Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah. So Imam Malik's position or madhab was very popular in North Africa, and especially in Al-Andalus. And people were very strict about it. That's the only thing that they know. They teach. Al-Imam Baqi ibn Makhlad, rahimahullah, when he grew up, he didn't like the fact that he should be strict only to narrow himself to that. As a researcher, he wanted to know more. He started asking. And that time, there is a scholar also there. He's a little bit older than him. His name is Muhammad ibn Waddah. He's from the scholars of Ahlus Sunnah in Al-Andalus, and he helped him, and he basically helped him to learn the hadith, the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. But he come to realize that, you know what, it's not enough. I have to cross the sea and to go learn. He was interested in collecting the narrations more than anything else. He was more of a collector than anything else. So he decided to move, and he traveled the world to collect the hadith and to bring knowledge to Al-Andalus. That was his main goal in life. He did 2 trips. The first one was about, or both of them is 34 years. One of them was 14 years and the other one's 20 years. So a trip, a 14 years trip, and another one 20 years trip. And during these 2 trips, he traveled from Spain all the way to Morocco, then go all the way to Tunisia. And in Tunisia, he met a great scholar by the name of Suhnun ibn Sa'id, a great Maliki scholar. Yeah. And he himself said that this scholar changed his view about the Maliki's fiqh. It's not the way that they used to teach it in Andalus, very rigid. No, he get to know what's the evidence behind these opinions. And he became more interested in fiqh than just collecting narrations. So during the journey, he was shifted and amazed by this scholar, continued his journey to Egypt, spent a quiet time in Egypt, and then crossed Sinai to Syria, spend a quiet time in this area, Sham, go to Mecca, to Medina. He traveled to even Yemen, go back up to Jerusalem, travel to Baghdad, travel to Al-Basra, Al-Kufa, travel to Iran, go up north, then go all the way back to Egypt, go all the way back to Morocco, go all the way back to Andalus. Twice. So can you imagine those years that he spent? And you want to know something even more interesting? He said, during these trips, I never at a single time ride an animal. He was walking. Maybe that's to explain why it took 34 years. So he was walking the whole entire 2 trips, rahimahullah ta'ala. But he managed to bring back to Andalus so much knowledge, so much books, so many books never heard before. First, he brought Ash-Shafi'i's madhab to Andalus, which is people not familiar with before. He brought the book of by Imam Shafi'i. First time ever to hear about Imam Shafi'i's work. He brought a book, it's called Al-Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba. This book is so unique because it's a collection of the narration of the companions and the successors. So he brought to Andalus what the Sahaba said, what we call it in Ilm al-Fiqh, al-Khilaf al-Qadim, the old Khilaf. The Khilaf, the differences between the scholars of Sahaba radiallahu anhum and the successors, which is something in Andalus not familiar with. And he brought so many hadith that he memorized, rahimahullah. During these journeys, he met 284 scholars. So his shuyukh, his teachers, 284 teachers. And among them, Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah. It's interesting, when he went to Baghdad to meet Imam Ahmad, or he went to Iraq to meet Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah, and Imam Ahmad at that time was not allowed to speak in public. He was in house arrest. Students want to go learn, but nobody allowed to do that. So he asked, where is Imam Ahmad? They said he's in house arrest. Why? He said he didn't know. The Caliph put him in house arrest. For 3 years, Imam Ahmad was not allowed to pray Jumu'ah, to pray in the Masjid Jama'ah, or to speak or to talk. And he came to Iraq in the end of this period of time. So he said, I need to meet him. I came all the way from Spain. So he said, I went to Imam Ahmad rahimahullah and I knocked on the door. I said, yeah, Imam, I came from very far away. I want to hear the hadith from you. Then Imam Ahmad said, you know, by the order of the government, I'm not allowed to do so. He said, but I came from far away. He said, where? From Africa? Then the man said, no, I had to ride the sea to reach Africa. He said, from Al-Andalus. Then he said, yes. So Imam Ahmad felt bad for him and he said, you know what? Next day come in the form of a beggar. So he changed his clothes and he wore like very dirty clothes, like, you know, changed his look like a beggar. And he started walking the street, said, hungry, hungry, feed me. And he meant hungry for knowledge. So Imam Ahmad said, I have something that I can give it to you, feed you, which is the hadith. And he'll bring a piece of bread and he give him the bread, kind of break it to him. And while he's doing that, he would narrate for him a hadith or 2 or 10 or 5. So every day he would come, and Imam Ahmad will teach him this wise. So nobody will notice if somebody watching him will not know that he is basically teaching him. He would think that this is just a beggar. And Imam Ahmad rahimahullah got the news that the house arrest was lifted and the Caliph died, the new Caliph came and he basically honored Imam Ahmad al-Mutawakkil and he said, you can teach as you like. He asked about him, where is the Andalusi? First thing. They said, who? He asked, yeah, we know. He said, he stays in that hotel. قالوا في الفندق. It's very unique. They use the word hotel. He went to that place and he said, where's the so-and-so person, the one from Andalus? The owner of the hotel said, you know him? He said, he's my student. He said he'd been sick here for a while. And when he knew that this is a student of Imam Ahmad, the rent that he'd been paying all these months, he gave it back to him. He said, if I knew you were one of Imam Ahmad's students, I would not charge you any money. What a support. So, Imam Baqi ibn Muhammad rahimahullah ta'ala, when he came back with all this knowledge, with all these books, he was envied. Even by Ibn Waddah, the one who helped him in the beginning. Envied by the Malikis at that time. And they start saying, this man giving opinion which is maybe not Sunni, maybe he promote another new madhab, you know, he's this, he's that, the same thing that you hear in modern day. So the Abdul Rahman, the prince or the Khalifa at that time, brought him in front of him. And he said, tell me, what do you teach? He said, I teach nothing but the ilm. what knowledge you have. Those shuyukh don't know what you're teaching. They claim that this is something you made, this is innovation, bid'ah. You cannot give bid'ah in my country. No bid'ah. And he showed him the books, and he liked them. Then he asked, do we have a copy from these books in our library? They said, no. He said, make copies and put it in the library. The public library of Al-Andalus. By the way, Qurtuba's library had more than 200,000 titles. You know, it's the biggest library in the world at that time. Anyway, so Imam Al-Qurtubi, Imam Baqi ibn Makhlad, rahimahullah, after that, he was honored by the ruler, and the ruler said, go teach anywhere you want. So he got the government support. And he started teaching left and right, and he became, until he died, rahimahullah ta'ala. So they tried to harm him, but actually they caused him to be more popular and his knowledge to spread even more. You know, there was stability in Al-Andalus, and that's helped a lot for him to focus on knowledge and teaching and spreading that knowledge. He became so well known to the extent that Imam Ahmad ibn Khaythama, or Imam Ahmad ibn Khaythama, when someone came from Al-Andalus all the way to Iraq to ask him about hadith, he said, why you came all the way to here? You have Baqi ibn Makhlad. He has all the ahadith that we have. They call him the scholar who sweeps anyone away when he debates someone, because the amount of knowledge he has. He filled Al-Andalus with the science of hadith, with the ilm, with the narrations. And he said, I planted in Al-Andalus, listen carefully. He said, I planted in Al-Andalus a knowledge that will remain until the appearance of the false Messiah. It will not be removed from here until the false Messiah comes. He wrote two great books. A book in tafsir that Ibn Hazm said, I don't think there is any book ever wrote in tafsir al-Quran, the explanation of the Quran, like his book. He said even Ibn Jarir's books, which is the top until today, it's not in any way equal to his book in tafsir. Second thing he did, he wrote a collection of hadith. And this collection of hadith, it is based on the narrators of the hadith from the companions. Because at that time, the scholars, when they collect a book, make a collection of hadith, they give the name of the companions and all the hadith. So Abu Bakr's, all the hadith Abu Bakr's narrated. Umar, all the hadith. It's called Musnad. His Musnad has 1,300 companions. The biggest Musnad ever we heard of. Not only that, in each, another way of writing books of hadith at that time, that they don't base it on the name of the companion. They base it on the subject. So the prayer, the wudu, hajj, zakat. What he did, he got Abu Bakr's, for example, all the hadith of Aisha or Abu Bakr. Then under Abu Bakr, he put categories. Salah, zakah, hajj. So combine between both in one book. Something never heard before, never heard after him. Nobody ever did that after him. And can you imagine with these kind of books, with this kind of knowledge, how popular he was, rahimahullah ta'ala. And with this, there's more to be said. But let's have a quick break and stay tuned to hear more about this Imam and the lessons that we can learn from his life in our modern days today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to our episode, The Life of the Muslim Scholars. And we were talking about Imam Baqi ibn Makhlad rahimahullah. And we said how he traveled the world, spent 34 years traveling the world to collect the hadith. He said, I've planted in Al-Andalus knowledge that will remain until the appearance of the full Messiah. That's his hope. He wrote great books, hadith book, and a tafsir book. And when he came back and he settled in Al-Andalus, he dedicated his life to two things: to teach the public, interact with the public, and also to divided his life for the worship of Allah. You know, when you travel, maybe you miss a lot, but he was very dedicated in the end of his life. His grandson said, my grandfather, every day when he comes home, he eats his dinner. You know, they eat the dinner early. before he go to Isha, he go a little bit early before Isha prayer, and he visit the neighbors, interact with them, talk to them. In his way to the masjid, he's spending quite time reaching out to the people. Pray Isha, then come back, stay with the family, then sleep. He used to pray 100 rak'ah a day. And in the end of his life, he used to make Khatm al-Quran every single day. And he used to read from the Mus'haf. He used to, maybe you said Khatm al-Quran one day? Yes. I know one of my friends, his grandfather, after he retired, he's a judge in Saudi Arabia, he make Khatm al-Quran every single day. And he continued to do that for at least 5 years. That's my friend's grandfather. And something in these days I know. Also, one thing about him, that people used to come to him to ask for help. Once a woman, old woman, came to him and he said, I need your help. The governor in my city giving me a hard time, and he took my land and something like that. He traveled all the way with her to help her. Just to help that woman, a woman. Another man came to him from Ishbilia. That's 200 kilometers away. He walked with him all the way to Ishbilia to help him. That's the kind of man he was, rahimahullah. Anytime he heard about attack on the border of the city, he will be among the first. He was a big guy, rahimahullah, built, very strong man. Estimated 72 battles he participated in. He dedicated his life for the public and for the knowledge, rahimahullah ta'ala. When one of the ulama heard him speaking, he said, إِنَّمَا يَغْرِفُ مِنْ بَحْرٍ. This is like an ocean of knowledge. So Imam Baqi ibn Makhlad rahimahullah is a man really filled of knowledge and was very close to the public. So let's see what kind of lessons that we can learn from his life, that we can relate to it today in modern days.
I think the first thing that comes to mind is straight away that you said he wasn't content with where he was, so he wasn't content with being narrow-minded. And it was his willingness to learn that led him to be great. And I find that so amazing. I think maybe nowadays we're very content with just what we know, and maybe we're a bit narrow-minded, so we shun the other views. Whereas Imam Baqi said to himself, I'm not just content with what I have around me. Let me expand the walls in my mind, and then perhaps I can, there's something greater out there.
Very good. And that's very important. Whenever you narrow your mind, you close your mind. I always say, mind is like a parachute. The only way you benefit from it when you jump, when you open it. Your mind, if you don't open your mind, you're never going to use it. You're never going to basically benefit from it.
Yeah.
And that's very important. A lot of people grow up around certain culture, about certain practices, and they think this is the only haqq and the ultimate haqq, and maybe there's something else out there. But be careful. You have to know the rules. He didn't just travel like that. He spent quite time learning, having foundation, then he start exploring. And definitely this is something I would say available today, especially with the world of the globalization of the information, the world of the internet. There's a lot to explore, a lot to see. Travel. When you have multiple shuyukh, different shuyukh, you get to learn a lot. You get to variety of scholars that enrich your knowledge. Yes.
Yeah, for me, Sheikh Walid, I feel like there is. I would like to keep silent and listening to your stories about those scholars. They are very, very interesting. I see that there is a lesson in every step in the life of those scholars. But what I like about our scholar today is about his creativity. He's really, really creative about thinking out of the box about concerning the part of. He tried to learn from Al-Imam, and then he tried to be like a beggar, acting like a beggar, and trying to
and
get
how he wrote his books in a different way.
A
very
new category,
creative.
yes, it's something really different. This is like the way, like we can take that in our lives in a kind of something. When you want something in your life, you are going to do it no matter what the way is. If you like it, you will do it. Okay, that you will think out of the box to do it. Either it's something good or bad, but we want to do that in something good. Okay, use your mind, open it up for something good. The thing you like yourself, and the thing that take you to the right track and to Jannah, inshallah.
Very good. They said it's not about you being good; it's about you doing something good.
Yes.
So, one thing I want to say, Henry Ford once said something very interesting. He said, you cannot build a reputation on what you are going to do. Your reputation is built and based on what you have Done.
Done.
Accomplished. And that's what Imam al-Baqi rahimahullah was. He really built his reputation based on what he have done, what he have, he traveled the world, he collect the knowledge, he memorized. He has the right to speak.
Yeah.
So many times we demand things, we didn't earn it yet. We have to put an effort. Also, one of the things I want to say, that success will not come ever before hard work. Success cannot come before work. The only time success comes before work in dictionary. But it doesn't come in real life before work. It comes after work. After hard work, you achieve success. He worked hard. He was poor. He suffered. Without pain, there is no gain, we say. So this is another lesson we should learn. Nothing's not going to come easy. Put your effort, but you know what? Be patient, and inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will bring success to you. One thing I love about this man as well, how he cared for people who are not necessarily to be rich, known, just an old woman come to him, an A person come to him, and he will walk with them, he spend time with them, he offered help, And this is very interesting, because sometimes I found that we start focusing on the rich, on the powerful people, on the celebrities, but we don't care for the average person in the society, in our community. That's not right. It's not right when an imam masjid, for example, in society, a doctor come to him, he give all this time and attention, and a rich person, a rich donor, but when an average Muslim come to ask a question, he just can't have time to answer them. That's not the attitude of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's not the akhlaq of the du'a, and definitely that's a lesson we learned from his life. I'll tell you, if you care for everybody in your community, regardless of their status, you will be loved and respected by your community as well. Yes.
Yeah. If I may add something in here, it's about seeking knowledge, and he crossed the sea, and it was when he spoke,
Very well said.
People said he take from a sea, this is a sea that he crossed seeking knowledge. Okay, this is the first part. Actually,
not sea, deserts, mountains,
rivers,
everything. Yeah,
something really interesting.
Very good.
And actually,
today everything is easy to access, but we don't seek knowledge. We don't learn. We're not interested in learning.
Yeah, we waste our time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Actually, what I like about him, he surrounded himself with the scholars, scientists, sheikhs and imams. This is something good. You're not going to learn from books only. You have to meet people,
Very
talk
good.
to them.
Excellent. It's important also to travel, to learn.
Yes.
To go and to learn. It's something, it's a sunnah we should revival. It's a good practice.
Yes.
Traveling can add a lot of experience to the person.
Travel broaden the mind.
Absolutely, broaden the mind, give you new experience, meet new culture, even if it is not about seeking knowledge.
Yeah.
Traveling in itself make you meet different cultures, meet different people, think different ways. It's really enriched the person.
Exactly.
I know you travel from the UK to Egypt, so I travel a lot too, and it's really helped the person. One thing I want to say, you remember when he said, I'm going to plant something that remain until the end of the days, or the time of the full Messiah? It's interesting because this man was not looking for what you call hit and run kind of attitude. He want to plant something that will remain for generation to come. I'm wondering if when we build an institute, when we build an organization, when we start something in our communities, are we planning for this to survive for a very long time? The question is, what steps that we take to ensure that this will survive? Do we have the right management? Do we have the right resources? Do we have the right project? Do we have the right finance backup for it? A lot of time we start ideas, we start projects that it dies even before we die. It doesn't last for generations to come. And that's wrong. If you really want to build something to remain, make sure that you take the steps towards that. Invest in this project in a way that will ensure it will remain. When we build our organization, institute, masajid, community, we build it in a way that we know it will survive. It will be stay there for a very long time, insha'Allah ta'ala. Anything else?
I think the actions of the hotel owner really stand out for me.
The hotel owner?
The hotel owner, after finding out he'll give your money back. And I feel like, how many times we have so many Muslim businesses in the West, and you might encounter some students, and it's a bit struggle for them. why not help them a bit? Maybe you're going to give them a free meal this day. Maybe you're going to help them with accommodation, for example. And it ties into our last episode in that we invest in our masajid and we have beautiful masajid, beautiful organizations and institutes. But what about the people who are going to carry this on for us? So we have to invest in those people.
So if Allah give you a talent, position, business, use this to support the da'wah, to support the student of knowledge, to support your community. You know, I like it. In our masjid, for example, we have a lot of people who owns businesses. Maybe somebody on IHOP and he donated pancake for us, and somebody else owns, you know, a place where sell chicken, like you know, and he donate a chicken in one of the days for Ramadan. Somebody else donate you know, tiles. Somebody donate services. Like we have a doctor. He said, I will do a free checkup for people. Not only for Muslim, for everyone. We offered actually a lot of like mammogram for breast cancer every year for the shelters next to our masjids. And we use what Allah blessed with us with the whole society. And that's the point. Yes?
Yes, I just want to add something. It's about the money he spent, the books he wrote, the journeys he made, like he went on. Actually, this is the thing that all the scholars have been doing. Like they were doing things for people. They were not doing things for themselves or for their glory.
Very good.
You know,
when we live for ourselves, Muhammad, our life became short. Die when we die.
Yes.
But we live something bigger than ourselves, our life will be so very
ومن
long.
أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله.
Ya salam.
You know, this is the
Very
best thing you're looking for.
Unfortunately, it's the end of the episode, so that will bring our episode today to an end. But there is a lot of lessons we can learn. Hopefully, you can drive your own lessons as well. You're more than welcome to share it with me in my social media, my Facebook or Twitter, inshallah ta'ala. I would love to see also the lesson that you can derive from the life of these scholars. With us, I would like to thank you very much for being with us in this episode. And I would like to thank all the audience and all the team here in Huda TV. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
قل هل يستوي الذين يعلمون